So hello, welcome to Ipswich Station and the Class 745 Flirt, and we're going to take that Greater Anglia service from Ipswich to London Liverpool Street. And I did this on the live stream a couple of nights ago, but made rather a pig's ear of it. It was an issue with I couldn't get it restarted again after missing the AWS, and it was a bit of a palaver. But it's actually quite straightforward, really. I've figured out some of these things. Setting it up's interesting and not particularly difficult, though you have to follow various steps. But it's possibly the most challenging unit and most detailed unit perhaps ever created for Train Sim Classic. So we're all set to go, and let's first of all get the train set up. So I still have to follow the instructions. We have got the announcer plugged in as well, so we should get announcements on the service. So we start off by inserting the master key. That's Shift and Q. I've actually downloaded a mod as well from the Train Sim Community website, which makes some of the controls a bit more logical than what's been set up. And that's the initial AWS screen that's cleared. So now we have to go into the first screen over here. So first of all, we have to confirm the train configuration is okay. Then we put in driver login. Doesn't really matter what numbers you put in. So we then log in. So that's fine. On the home screen, you need to remove the parking brake, which is that. So then, I think we've got another 745 coming in as well there. That's pretty good to see. Nice if there was a few more scenarios available for this. So we know this is one Papa 23. So confirm the head code. Need to do the GSMR as well while we're at it. By the way, that will show up now, the station, so we're calling it Manningtree, Colchester, Chelmsford, Stratford, London, Liverpool Street. Might as well at this stage actually just get the doors open as well. So on the GSMR, one Papa 23. So where are we? 308. And then now we can set up, we need to set this up so that we've got the speed control in place. And again, we've got it a little bit more logically done. So we'll do 25 to begin with. But I'd kind of recommend actually the changing controls from the Train Sim Community website, because it just makes it a little bit more easy to do. Yeah, it'd help if you shut the doors, wouldn't it? But I have to say, blown away by it really. And I mean, I've been holding off from buying it for some time, simply because of the price. And it is expensive. It's £37.99. But I think that's basically because of the actual work that's gone into it, which, to be fair, is an absolute load of work, and it's involved various people. So I think in the end, the Alan Thomson team just couldn't charge any less. You can kind of understand that. Just set off like a rocket, by the way, this thing. We'll go up to 100 because we're going to be there any moment. Yeah, so if you are a Alan Thomson subscriber, then you can get this for £29.99. So just reading the blurb on the Alan Thomson sim.com website, says heading down the Great Eastern Main Line is the Class 745. These have been running intercity and Stansted Express services since 2019. The Stadler 745 Flirt are electric multiple unit passenger trains built by Stadler, form part of the Flirt family. The 745 is built for Greater Anglia for use on their intercity services and the Stansted Express services. After construction between 2018 and 2020 in Switzerland, they entered service on the 8th of January 2020. Alan Thomson Simulation and Games, that's A&D Games, very proud to present the Class 745. These have been designed and built to be study level editions and offer the best immersion possible. The build process was assisted and supervised by real life train drivers who drive the units in reality, and we have done everything possible to recreate them as true life as we can. Included are the 7450, 7451 subclass, both with passenger views. This comes together as a whole package, and there is a whole multitude of features as well. So passenger information system with working announcements, as we've heard, automatic rain sensing wipers that react to rain levels. That's amazing, isn't it? AWS and isolation, TPWS version 4 including isolation and self-test, GSMR radio, driver's vigilant device, which we've just heard, driver's reminder appliance and isolation, automatic speed limit, cold and warm starts available, working automatic selective door operation. And there really is, I mean, there's almost too much to read. I mean, you'd have to study the manual for a bit more detail on that, but it is absolutely fabulous. I mean, I don't really know this as a fact, but I kind of wonder, in a way, whether, I won't say they've regretted putting so much effort into it, but you kind of wonder whether it's backfired on them in terms of, I don't know about sales and everything, but it's obviously put people off because of the expense. And maybe, you know, they might have thought, you know, in reality, do we want to put this amount of detail in next time? But it does make it interesting. I mean, it's not without its foibles, and you know, it's purely driver error on my part last night, so it does take some driving, but it's fun though, really, having all these immersive controls and features, and to try and make it as realistic as you possibly can do. And this is, by the way, this is the upgraded Great Eastern or GEMMA Line on Alan Thomson as well. So there's some many features, too much to go through really, that's been upgraded, but some parts of it I think they virtually ripped up, so it makes it a much more enjoyable ride. And I have to say, Slight trepidation because of what happened last night, but if we make it to London Liverpool Street, then I will very much enjoy this. You have to keep reminding yourself as well. You get Q is obviously the normal AWS, and then I get mixed up what's DVD and what's DSD, but whatever the vigilance is, it's E for that anyway. I've got to be honest, the brakes do take a bit of getting used to, because when you enter the platform, you kind of think the thing's not going to stop. We are heading towards Manning Tree. I know this is different as well, the estuary around here, or the river, I get mixed up, but it's it wasn't even on the original game. It's a very, very old route. It was one of the first routes to come out. And you don't actually need the upgraded route to, if you have this add-on pack, incidentally. You can just use the original GEMMA route as well. The scenarios have been duplicated. So I'm being a little bit cautious coming into the platforms, but I know there is a neutral section just here. But I think when you're driving a train and you almost feel that you're under an exam, trying to get all the features correct and to try and do it right as well. And that's not forgetting as well, we've got that advice thing in the corner as well, which is quite exciting. It tells you the current speed limit. I mean, I don't know about the real one. I've kind of wondered whether, I mean, in reality, would it give you advance notice of the speed limit coming down? I don't know. You would kind of assume it would, but I don't know enough about it to be sure. So there's the 10 and 12 car marker. Again, we slipped by it slightly, I think. Oh, we're all right. The door is just inside. We'll live with that, I think. That was another thing I hadn't got right last night either. We got those 3-2-1s and the Renatus colours, and also the 360s. I've got the correct reskins included now, and we're all systems go to Colchester. Colchester, the next stop. And I'm looking forward to the later stages of the journey as well. I have to say, it does set off like an absolute rocket. And again, that's the trouble. You actually want to show off the outside of the train and show how good it looks, and then of course you get the vigilance reminder thing going off. So one clever thing though is they have implemented it so that it flashes up with a message so that you can see. That's quite a clever idea. In a Train Sim world, you can actually hear the pings and the alarms and stuff from the outside, which, although unrealistic, does make things easier, because I have been caught out on Train Sim Classic before. I must admit, when I'm driving it normally and not doing a stream, I tend to just sit in the cab, but you kind of want to see all the outside views and stuff. But I do know that the Great Eastern Main Line for many years seemed to have to kind of make do. It was never the first choice in terms of being allocated units. And when it was electrified, it was handed the Class 86s from the West Coast Main Line and Mark II air-conditioned stock, and they had the DBSOs. Not quite initially, but fairly early on, to do push-pull operation. They came from ScotRail, from the old Edinburgh Glasgow. And then the next thing was the 90s were handed down to them when they weren't needed for the West Coast Main Line. So, but these 745s are kind of bang up to date and were made specifically for Greater Anglia. Have a bit of a European feel to them as well from the outside, and I think there's kind of good reason for that. There are, I think, European versions of the Flirts. And all we need really to be really realistic is to have some adventurers in the game. And I know that Alan Thomson did show off a kind of an AI version of it at one stage. And the idea was it was going to be a quickly made thing with not masses of detail, but it's never seen the light of day. I don't know, I might have missed it, but I don't know if there is an update on that. But you kind of want to see the Greater Anglia local services putting in. And you also want to see the Elizabeth Line trains in and around Liverpool Street as well.
Something that doesn't look right. Speak to staff or text the British
It has this curious platform arrangement at Colchester, doesn't it? Because you kind of join the main platform. It feels as though it's like halfway down. So it's, I suppose you can't really call it one platform because that one over there is kind of not part of what we're approaching, but it's unusual to say the least. So I'll try and be a bit better with the braking this time. Having said that, being slightly on the cautious side. Well, that's the 8-car marker. So we're slightly further off. Yeah, it's curious, the brakes. I mean, you kind of think with modern stock that you expect that you get an instant response with the controls, but it doesn't feel as though you do. I know that certainly it was developed with a real train driver in mind. The one thing I'm certain of is we won't be on time. I'm not too fussed about that, really. Probably not very realistic to whack it straight into maximum either. That's why I've had a bit of wheel slip along the way. There's a 360 on the right. So I've not altered that speed control at the moment, tilt to 100, because we're going to be way past the speed limit marker way before we get there, even the way this thing accelerates. But there are times when you drive a train and you think, wow, it's really got you in terms of the detail and the immersion, and this is certainly one of those situations. I mean, I couldn't even tell you when it came out. It's quite a while ago now. I'd like to say it was this year, but I'm not even 100% sure about that. But I've held off for ages, really. It was kind of a question of hoping that I got a little bit of kind of Christmas money to spend on Train Simulator. shudder to think how much money I've spent on Train Sim Classic and Train Sim World in 2024. It's not insignificant. Gone are the days with Microsoft Train Simulator when you could buy for £20 a huge add-on that got basically the route, the stock, a load of scenarios, the full shebang. So we are less than 20 miles away from Chelmsford. It's not, I think the vegetation's had a lot of reworking done to it. The track I think has been worked on as well, certainly the track textures and stuff, but one of the main things for me is the catenary. That's Mark's Tay, isn't it, with the branch that went off to Sudbury. It's not the fastest line in the world. Because we don't get any 125 mile an hour sections. It's all 100 mile an hour tops, and then once we kind of get past Shenfield and stuff, it's it gets down even more. Sadly, we can't do Norwich to Ipswich. I did have the free add-on that used to be on the Steam Workshop until I had to do a reinstall of the game a couple of months back. I wished I'd kept a copy of it, really. It was silly. I forgot about that completely, but I mean, I think the idea is that the Alan Thomson team will be eventually filling that bit in, but I mean, these things, to be fair, are massive jobs and can take a long time. No, I'm sure that was a temporary speed restriction, wasn't it? You know, it did say make sure you read the briefing. On this bright but misty October morning, head southwards from Ipswich with a Flirt bound for London Liverpool Street. Having taken over from a Norwich colleague, you will proceed to call at Manningtree, Colchester, Chelmsford, Stratford, join to London at 10:57. Along the way, look out for 60 mile an hour temporary speed restriction at Calverton. Well, yeah, here it is. Oh well, bit late now, really. Never mind. We're back up to 100 now anyway. Did say, actually, in the intro, make sure you read the briefing before you set off. It's nice having the cruise control feature as well, because once you're up to speed, then apart from the Q and the E button, there's not a massive amount to do as well, and it kind of behaves itself better than the Pendolino one. It's certainly more advanced than that. And I suppose nowadays you have to remind yourself the Pendolino's old technology in many ways. And I believe there is going to be the 745 coming out as well at some point. And you can do a bit of the Stansted Express on a steam workshop route. But sadly we haven't got the full route from London Liverpool Street. There is a set of guys and there is a Facebook page about it that have been creating the wagon route for, I can't remember how many years now, a long time. But I think, to be fair, they don't really get masses of free time. And I must have a go into a stopping service at some point with perhaps a 317, but it's worth actually looking at some of these extra stations as well. There's been a lot of work that's gone into it. Here's the neutral section. So not too far away from Chelmsford. Certainly the time goes very quickly when you're driving this thing, I have to say. The sounds are amazing as well, and I hope that's coming across loud and clear. Everything from the track joint sounds, but to very accurately modelled train motors and everything. I mean, I've no doubt there'll be somebody will say that there's some little minuscule thing that isn't quite perfect, but it's a very good attempt at it. So I did make it to Chelmsford last night. As I'm recording this, but we didn't make it to Liverpool Street. There's the first indication of the neutral section. That was kind of the advanced warning. The cross, of course, you get the kind of the grey cross and the black one. That was the black one, or the black background anyway. I probably missed the first few of them though, gabbling away on other stuff. Yeah, here it is. So I'm not sure whether it's still I'm not sure whether it's still actually necessary to cut the motors definitively, but I think it's always been standard procedure. And as we know, with the Class 87 coming out for Train Sim World, you certainly have to do it, because you have to run down the motors with the older electrics. So we are coming towards the county town of Essex, Chelmsford. I just hope we do get a load more scenarios, because I think the route itself deserves it. And you know, this preset one that's come with it's a lovely run. You know, plenty of AI traffic, but we do need more. Kind of feeling with the braking, I'm giving it the respect I would give with an old diesel or electric. I think I'm being a bit cautious, really. A narrow little section as we come into Chelmsford as well. Just kind of creep up on you. Yeah, that's the 8-car marker. I think that'll do us. Suspect it's probably quite a challenge to actually get all the 12 cars in. How are we doing? How have we done? Right, see how long it is. Yeah, we're alright. I'll have that one. Gee, the whir of the old 321 motors as well. Quick chance whilst we're here to have a look on the inside as well, which has been very nicely modelled. See, quite some details gone into that too. I think they don't tend to put people in them anymore, because I think the AI people that Kuju put in originally with the game look very, very cartoony now, so I think generally people don't tend to bother too much. Kind of spoils otherwise the authentic replication of the train. Yeah, I keep feeling as though it's not going to go. Actually, we haven't. We need to get that. We're at the end of the 100 mile an hour working, so let's get this down to 85. There we go. But I think because of the upgraded graphics and because of the fabulous recreation of this train, it's giving Train Sim World a run for its money, really. I mean, people will say the graphics are superior in Train Sim World, and they undoubtedly are. There are times when it almost feels photographic with Train Sim World, but this is pretty damn good. So 20 odd miles to run to Stratford. Of course, once we get to about Shenfield, we'll get all the local services. So, and again, because this is from a few years back, we're still going to have the 315s in situ for the Shenfield to London Liverpool Street. And you can see all the upgraded catenary that was done a few years back as well. As this was a very old line, in actual fact, to be electrified. And it went as far as Colchester and the Clacton services a very long time ago. But of course it didn't actually become electrified for the rest of the route until the 1980s. It certainly keeps you on your toes driving this train. I'm glad as well that finally in the stream you can't see the cursor anymore, because I had the irritating habit of leaving it in the middle of the screen. And thanks to Amaze Taze on the live streams, because one Sunday he said to me, yep, on OBS Studio you can alter the settings by doing such and getting rid of the cursor. And of course it's still showing for me so that I know what I'm doing in terms of driving it, well, ish, but it means it isn't visible on the recording, which is makes it a lot better viewing, I think. We've got a nice autumnal look about the air as well. I don't know whether it's set to be slightly on the murky, misty side. That's one thing I would like to have done, perhaps actually just done it in bright sunshine and show off the proper colours, but for all that it's nice. Yeah, I think that was where we got into trouble on the live stream. It was the, I think I was clicking on OBS Studios for some reason, and I missed the AWS, and then couldn't restart it. I mean, it's relatively simple to actually restart it. I've now got that working. But if we can avoid having to go through that palaver anyway, then so much the better. Oh, we're cleared to green now. Again, it's one of those situations, and I think in real life, I think drivers, if you've had a kind of a cautionary signal, even when you get a green, it doesn't make a massive amount of sense to immediately accelerate, because you could have a train in front of you, and you kind of get a sense for what's going on in front. You know, that was, and not with the AWS, but that was very true when you watch the Dale Charman videos that he's been doing this year. Sadly, he isn't permitted to do any more Piccadilly Line videos, but you got a real sense of him kind of looking ahead to what was in front of him, and it kind of helped him massively in terms of driving it. And I mean, that's probably the difference between driving in real life and driving on Train Simulator. I think in real life you would be massively more cautious. I mean, I tend to get carried away in the stream anyway, because you're trying to read the chat, and you're talking to people, and you're kind of gossiping away, and you know, at times you have to keep your mind on the job. Right, so we've got single yellow, so I'll keep that in mind. I don't know, we can't be too far off to the Shenfield bit either, and that's kind of interesting, the Shenfield bit towards Stratford, because we have the four lines then. Of course, you got the South End branch going off at past Shenfield. Here's a neutral section again. It's amazing how they have these neutral sections just before the signal, because the one thing you don't want to do is get yourself caught in the neutral section, because you won't get the train moving then. And now we have a green, so I can only assume it was something to do with the movement at Shenfield. It's fantastic, the detail though. I mean, all this stuff on here as well, and you know, there's all this stuff that's basically working, and then this advisory thing and that. And I think the model itself was originally built by GU Studios. So just as we thought we were getting a clear run, we've got a double yellow. I'll tell you what, the signal behind it's not too very far away either, so I suspect, assuming that the signals are in exactly the same place as real life, that must be a huge SPAD potential. Well, actually, it's a bit farther away than I thought, actually. It's 0.3 of a mile, isn't it? I was getting ahead of myself a little bit, but we don't want to be going more than 30 anyway, really. And I think it's... we're not quite on the downhill bit yet, but I think we will be by the time we get to the signal. Yep, still showing as red. I'll tell you what, whoever's created this scenario is certainly making sure that we're not going to have an easy job. I mean, it's one criticism I would say of Train Simulator Classic generally is that we don't get too many situations where we have an adverse signal. I always get worried though. It's like, you know, is the game correct? Because it's not always perfect. See, that worries me because the one after is green. Probably find there's some it's not allowing me to tab though for some reason. I don't know why. So I think we are going to have to go because I'm sure we're okay. It might just be some minor patch that I haven't got installed. Right, let's let us through anyway, so at least we haven't got any alarms or anything else going off. While we're at it, let's move this thing through to 90. Yeah, definitely recommend downloading the mod for the key change. Funnily enough, that's only come out today as I'm driving this, but it makes the controls a bit more logical. They're a bit more kind of the buttons that you used to pressing on the keyboard on Train Simulator. I mean, we're going to be late into Stratford anyway, so I'm not going to stress myself on that. There's a 315, by the way. Again, love those old units. Brentwood, not to be confused with Brentford. Again, I think it's had a bit of a improvement with the scenery. I mean, this is going down at 1 in 100 as well, so would be tremendously challenging, but for the fact that we have the cruise control in place. Kind of reminds me as well that early in the year I did the first couple of parts of an old train from the 1980s, the European, which ran from Harwich through to Glasgow Central, and very talented scenario maker who's done that, and he's done all the various parts to it. We did it from Harwich as far as Watford Junction, went across the North London line after Stratford. But I've never actually got round to doing the remaining parts to it, so that's something I'd like to do, because I think it's not far off from being 12 months since they actually put that up. I remember being absolutely quite excited about the prospect of doing that run. And again, it's kind of one of those, it's a 86, but it's a stopping service, and certainly you're not getting priority all the time. There's plenty of cautionary signals along the way. Hey, you see, didn't notice the neutral section that time. Oh, there is a 86, speaking of which, on a Freightliner service. But I mean, bearing in mind this is a scenario that came with the pack, it's a pretty damn good one. There was a slightly different liveried 315 there for the overground services. I love some of these stations between Shenfield and Liverpool Street as well. They have quite an old, you can imagine, just as they were in steam days in many ways, the old-fashioned canopies, and they almost have a country feel about them. And I know when we get to Ilford, they... Oh, that's is that a Romford Upminster 315 there, I think. This is Romford, home of Steve Davies. I don't know where he lives nowadays, but that's where he kind of grew up playing snooker. Barry Hearn Snooker Club. Random fact of the day. But yeah, the detail on this route, I think it's been done, I can't remember what his nickname is, but I think it's Matt Goodison for Alan Thomson, and I think he did it basically. I missed the neutral section again. Might be alright though, because of course the pantographs towards the back, might have just to go away with that. I think he'd done this upgrade essentially single-handed, and he's even upgraded the Felixstowe branch as well from Ipswich. And a simply stunning job. almost makes me want to get to Liverpool Street and think I wouldn't mind doing a reverse working, going the other way. Just a shame, actually, the only one that's available in the pack is in the dark, and I don't think anybody's created one in the daylight. Liverpool Street to Ipswich. I could be wrong on that. If you mess about with RW tools or TS tools, whatever you call it nowadays, you could perhaps just alter the times on it and you might be able to get it to work. Not that there's anything wrong in driving in the dark, of course, but it's just sometimes it's just nice to be able to see it properly. Well, keeping a sharp beady eye out for this Stratford stop. But here is Ilford Depot, and again I know that they've done a lot of work upgrading the buildings in and around. Not quite going to be able to show you properly, am I? Because just conscious of making sure we don't come amok. Not sure what the AWS was for there, actually. Again, the moment we left the cab it came on, so you have this situation here, the flyover, so the slow lines go over the top and will be on our left for the last few stations in towards Stratford. You've got like Maryland, which is just outside Stratford station. I dread to think when this original Liverpool Street to Ipswich came out. It's a hell of a long time ago, and it was one of the earlier add-ons. Remember the excitement, actually. I don't know if that was just after Christmas one year. Here's the neutral section again. So I feel under pressure now because the thing is, if you make a mess up of the journey in the very early stages and you're doing a recorded stream, then you can just start it again. But seeing as though we're nearly into Stratford, then I think, right, no, we've got to make sure we get this right. Bit on the stuttery side at times, but you know, I think we've got a demanding train in the shape of the 745, and I think the 315 is quite demanding as well. This is Maryland. I've noticed before, but you kind of get a slight heart attack thinking you see that red signal and the green one's like lurking away. And again, the scenery here, it's just chalk and cheese, isn't it? And okay, they're fairly generic flats, that building there, but it certainly does make it feel as it should do. Because you've got the big shopping complex on the right. The Westfield shopping centre. We're slightly late, not too bad in the circumstances. Here's the old scene. There's the old station, and again there's been a lot of brand new markers and all sorts of stuff to make this look realistic. Just as I was talking about how busy it is, we momentarily have absolutely nothing here. A serene moment. I'm kind of reminding myself, I have to keep reminding myself that you hear the sound of the door shutting, but you need to still get the interlock on, so that's done. And I have no idea whether we're going to get any gibbery pokery when we get into Liverpool Street. As you can see, really, I'm just being a bit too aggressive with the controller because the fact remains that it takes a little while before we get power. It takes a while for the brakes to be released. I mean, this is one of my favourite sections, I have to say, and I think any journey on the approach to any London station is amazing, but I do like the one into Liverpool Street. I mean, it might be kind of deliberately so that we haven't got masses of AI, because I know that the Liverpool Street station and the area around there is sort of very, very not frame rate friendly, and in fact, you know, you have to be a little bit careful. I'm not going to show you too many outside views as we come into Liverpool Street, because the game could easily dump on us, and I think they've got plans, because they've said that it's such an issue, the actual Liverpool Street model, and I think eventually I think the ATS people talked about putting a new one, but again, it's very easy to say we're going to do a new Liverpool Street, but these things don't just happen by chance and by accident, and it takes a huge amount of work. I mean, it's still one of my favourite bits of the Train Sim World 5 West Coast Main Line bit, that approach to London Euston, and you know, on a busy time with rush hour traffic coming in and out, it's quite an experience. So we'll get down to the 40. Again, in real life, it probably wouldn't be that unusual to find yourself getting held coming to Liverpool Street. And we've got quite a descent as well. This is Bethnal Green. I would love to see that finally coming out, that branch. Obviously goes all the way through to Cambridge eventually, but like Stansted Airport, and it'd be a good route to have. Who knows, perhaps we'll get it for Train Sim World or something, because I think many people would be anxious to see it, and again, you know, it's obviously had no idea whether there's any plans to, but we've seen models imported from one game to the other, so there's the potential of using bits of it. Obviously, I presume the cab doesn't get carried over, but they can use the 3D model. Again, that's pure, you know, from me saying that would be lovely if they could do it. You've got this curious mixture with the catenary of the very old and the new. I mean, there's still one or two Great Eastern, very specific Great Eastern mainline catenary that you don't really see anywhere else, and they I don't think have been recreated, but I don't think we have the gantries. I stopped in a Premier Inn somewhere around this location because I looked out of the window and you're kind of looking down on the Great Eastern Main Line. It's got to be pretty close to here. We are coming towards the 15, so again, just slightly ahead of ourselves. I'm hoping that yellow marker signifies, yep, we are signalled into platform 10. And okay, it might be frame rate heavy, and I suppose it's very old in terms of modelling, but it still does feel like London Liverpool Street. Interesting station. And they're talking about putting a shopping complex on top of it, aren't they? And you know, I know that's a great political debate over that, but you know, please don't make a mess of Liverpool Street. It's a lovely old station. I'll have to try and get a bit of brakes on because, say, the last few miles an hour seem to be just take a bit of working out. Well, I hope you've enjoyed it. I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed this run. And as I say, it's not cheap. It's £37.99. But if you're a paid subscriber to Alan Thomson Sim, then you can get it for £29.99. But there are benefits too much to go into in this stream of joining. But I'll let you work that out for yourself. But great effort. And you know, it's taken me a long time to go ahead and purchase it. Aren't we supposed to put the parking brake on now or something? But I'm sure there was some mention about that. Oh, anyway, I'm not going to worry too much about that. Well, hope you've enjoyed it. That was great work, driver. Your train will now reverse, ready to form I1P24, the 11:30 back to Norwich. Time for a break before your next duty. I mean, it does say incomplete bad luck up in the corner, but that's just because we're running a bit late. Well, hope you've enjoyed it, and we finally made it into London Liverpool Street after the shenanigans in the live stream last night. And there is plenty of complexity about this unit to keep you absolutely engaged and entertained. So, as I'm recording this, or hopefully as you're viewing it, it should be New Year's Eve. So, Happy New Year to you, and we'll see you in the new year with more streams on the Sunday. Hopefully, some more trouble-free streams than the last one. But until next time, from me, it's a very, very goodbye and Happy New Year. No, I don't know. There's always a little foible, isn't there? I'm trying to punch you the end bit. Trying to do this without doing any editing, just for quickness, really. For a second time, goodbye from me.